One has to start wondering, how would Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers, or John Mateer look in Miami for crunch time moments as Tua chokes for the second week in a row, and so does Zach Sieler. Miami Dolphins lose, but did Mike McDaniel do enough to save his job in Miami tonight? We got a lot to talk about. Smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. Let's go through the pain together, Dolphin fans.
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score. Field on the near side, man open, touchdown. The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown.
He's going deep. He's going up for the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as the Miami Dolphins suffer a little bit of a heartbreaker because there was legitimate chance, there was legitimate hope, and due to two specific boneheaded plays, the Miami Dolphins fell short against their rivals and a team where, guys, even if we win 2 games all season, we want them both to be against the Buffalo Bills. That's what we want. And Zach Sieler cost this team with a boneheaded play as the Miami Dolphins, due to him, took their second roughing the punter penalty in the first 3 games to start the season. And guess what? For the second time in a row, they gave the opposing offense an extended drive, and that opposing offense made them pay with points. It ended up being enough to secure the victory for the Bills, but the Dolphins did get a chance late. All right? As you guys were all watching, after that touchdown, the Miami Dolphins got the ball back, and they were driving. They got the ball down to the Buffalo 21 after a Malik Washington catch was actually ended up converting the first. Originally, it was thought that it wasn't going to convert the first. Then it doesn't. So then, instead of running the football, when the Miami Dolphins had been successful on that drive running the football, right? Like, we had been pushing the ball. Ollie Gordon, doing his thing. Instead of getting that and resetting it, and plus there was 3 minutes left. You don't want time on the clock for Josh Allen. No, we dropped Tua back, and Tua locks on Jalen Waddle, and the defender reads his eyes the whole way, and Bernard makes the interception and seals the deal. He actually had a 24-yard return. He picked it off on the 17 and returned it for 24 yards. And then, to be honest with you, on the field goal to make it 31-21 Bills, people aren't going to talk about this enough. The drive started off with a 10-yard holding penalty on Dalton Kincaid. After giving up only 4 yards to James Cook, the Miami Dolphins on 2nd and 16, the defense gave up 30 yards. It was a 9-yard dump off over the middle of the field where Josh Allen had been killing the zone all night. It's what we had seen Daniel Jones do and what we had seen Drake May do. Good protection. and quick throws underneath, just slicing and dicing the zone because we can't press or man up. And a 9-yard dump off turns into 30 yards, putting the Buffalo Bills into field goal position, and the game was pretty much over. You felt it there. And this is now 2 weeks in a row. Tua Tagovailoa, in the final 2 drives of a winnable game, has cost this team. And I'll say this right now, what I've noticed over the last 2 weeks, I mentioned it slightly last week, but we'll see who caught on to when I said that. But I'm going to repeat what I said last week. Tua is playing very timid right now. Almost too timid. Like, you watch Tua Tagovailoa play right now, and he's playing like he's afraid to get hurt and throw a pick, which is why he's running out of bounds last week against the Patriots when there's plays to be made in space. He can use his legs. Tonight, we're seeing him we're seeing him panic and clean pockets. And then we're seeing him refuse to push the ball downfield and taking the underneath stuff. He's playing too timid right now. And he's got at least 1 turnover in every game. The first game of the season was obviously a freaking disaster. Right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. First game of the season, right? You had the fumble. Right? On top of that, you had the 2 interceptions. I mean, look at where we're at right now. 3 games in, he's thrown 4 picks. Fumbled a snap again tonight. That ended up costing us on 3rd down. And we ended up having to punt, and it ended up being a 3rd and out because he fumbled a snap. Because he, again, watching the blitz. And I was thinking about this, and I was wondering this. Let me know in the chat. I was wondering, was Tua afraid to get hurt against Buffalo because he's got hurt so many times against them? That's what I was wondering. Was Tua afraid to get hurt against Buffalo because of his injury history against them? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to put that in a poll. Let me know what you think in the chat. Was Tua afraid to get hurt against Buffalo because of his injury history against them? Because he was playing a little scared, man. He was playing timid. That's 2 weeks in a row I've seen him play super timid. Like, he's bailing on pockets when there's no pressure. And it's almost like we saw him play timid last week against the Patriots, and it accelerated. We didn't see the panicking with just a little push towards our pocket, and he was bailing. I don't know. He suffered a lot of injuries against them, right? From the, what was it, the finger injury to some concussions. He's had a couple of concussions, whether documented or undocumented against them. But no Milano, no Ed Oliver. The Bills don't play a strong game and let you stick around, and Zach Sieler and then Tua Tagovailoa choke the game away for you. And there's no defending it. I don't want to hear anyone defend Tua. This man was 22 of 34 for 146. His average, I can't wait to see his depth of target. Because he was only averaging about 4.3 yards per play. And there were times where you could tell he was taking the check instead of throwing deep. Or threatening outside the numbers. And let's talk about this, all right? Let's get into some observations from this game, all right? Okay? You start off with a great opening drive, the most scripted drive of the game. You even overcome Keon Smith's penalty, which Keon Smith ends up getting benched for Daniel Brunskill late in the game. And by the way, if you go back and watch Tua's interception, Daniel Brunskill got beat right off the rip. And hands went up into his face. And that's why the throw was so quick. I don't know if he wanted to come off it or not, but if you go back and watch it, Daniel Brunskill whiffed on his block on that pick too. Jack Jones started off rough, right? Didn't turn his head back and got called for a DPI after Miami had drew a penalty on the kickoff. It's a bad start for the defense. Let's be real here. You know, I mean, you look at James Cook. James Cook tonight was cooking. 19 carries for 108 yards, but his first 7 carries of the night, he had 7 carries for 73 yards. At one point, he was averaging 9.1 yards a carry. Finished the night averaging 5.7. Again, gashed on the ground. 27 carries for 157 on the ground for the Bills. Josh Allen, 22 of 28, 213, but he had 3 passing touchdowns. And he was getting so disrespectful with you early in the game with those flicks. Kenneth Grant had a couple nice run stops today. Had a nice one on Ty Johnson on a first down run on the Bills' first drive. On that second drive, we talked about Tua fumbling the snap on third down to force a 3-and-out when the offense can't afford these errors. You know, you're wasting plays and drives due to how poor the defense looks early on. Whether passing or running, the Bills were moving the ball at will for chunk yardage against the defense. Ashton Davis had some great coverage plays today. Stopped a Kincaid potential tight end and forced the incompletion. What I didn't like was between the Dolphins' second and third drive, they only had one run, which was a 5-yard run from Achane. It basically looked like it was going to take McDaniel one drive to abandon the run after the run helped you really set the tone on the opening drive. Like, I feel like those second and third drives were really wasted in a bad play calling. Because the defense was getting cooked early on by the Bills' offense. And early on, it looked like the offense with time of possession and running the ball was going to have to be another layer to our defense of keeping Allen and Bills off the field, in which the running game would be your best friend, but McDaniel was like, whatever. So you look at that play where we got off the field on third down and forced them to take a field goal, right? Jalen Phillips missing easy tackles in the backfield. You saw, again, James Cook at one point. I don't know what he finished at, but next gen stats, this guy was having career best yards after contact against us. At one point, in the third quarter, he had 71 yards after contact against us. Right? Now, thank God they missed that field goal, though. Right? Where Chubb had the sack. And then we responded, and we looked great. We responded with a touchdown right away. We had a great 16-play, 71-yard drive. And we took 6 minutes. We only left about 8 seconds on the clock for them. But again, we were finding balance, right? 2 of your first 3 plays on that drive were runs. You know, a 4-yard run for Ollie Gordon a 7-yard run for Achane on 2nd and 8, and then a 4-yard run by Ollie Gordon on 3rd and 1. And then you came back and ran it again for 4 yards. And then you went back to the screen. And then Tua had one of his best throws, right? Tua was flushed out of the pocket. He found Tyreek over the middle of the field for a big 19-yard pass and a conversion on 3rd and 12. So you also had a great block by Waddle on 3rd down from the Buffalo 41 for Tyreek to get the first down. It was just a fantastic drive to end the first half. You know, capped off with that Waddle touchdown on that quick slant. It was just, Tua looked in command and in control in that drive. Right? It was a good way to head in. Now, the biggest stats that stood out for me offensively for the Dolphins in the first half, where they were 8 of 10 on third down. Remember, they had the 10th ranked third down offense heading into the game tonight. They were 2 for 2 in the red zone. And then in time of possession, they were winning time of possession 15-14. Now, how did that end? Well, they finished 10 of 15 on third down, which is still quite good. In the red zone, they were 3 for 3. And they lost the time of possession by about 3 minutes. So, but then, I mean, you start the second half, you're having run success. You start with a screen and then you run on second down. It was just so predictable. And then you come back with a 50-50 deep ball on 3rd and 8. Now, you got to get to the sticks. Was it catchable for Tyreek? Yes, 110%. Now, if you go watch the play, people will say Tua underthrew it. No, Tua couldn't go over the top because of the safety. But if you also look at it, you had Achane along the left sideline. But on the flip side, again, Tyreek is paid the big bucks to make that catch, and he didn't make the catch. Then it felt like, oh my God, they're going to get the ball back and then they're going to score. They fumbled, right? The punt that we kicked them, but they recovered their own fumble. And you're like, oh man, did we need that break? But no, you get a big stop on 3rd and 9, forcing a 3 and out by the defense. Third quarter, they finally forced their first punt of the game on the second drive of Buffalo, on the Buffalo second drive of the third quarter. We'll take it. And then you get the ball back, and what happens? You get that ball back, and we end up punting. And Tua, man, again, we started to see that. Tua, he had Washington at the sticks for a first, but panicked as the pocket got pushed. He got flushed out and he threw it away to end the second drive of the second half for Miami. Just not good enough. And then you get back to Josh Allen shredding zone coverage all night with patience protection. Keon Coleman got away with an OPI. But we forced another punt. We got off the field again. So now the Dolphins get another chance to tie this game. And they come through. Unsko replaced Keon Smith by this time. You had a big run on that drive for 16 yards by OG31 after a short Achane gain. Would you look at that? What happens when you give these guys the rock a little bit? Julian Hill finally makes a play, but the offensive line takes a penalty. Right? Which wasn't good, but didn't matter. Right? We end up getting the touchdown to Tyreek Hill to end that drive. A nice drive. 9 plays, 67 yards. Makes it 21-21. But then here comes the Buffalo Bills. And you force, they get an 11-yard run to start, and we're like, oh, here we go. But then Jalen Phillips gets a run stop for no gain. So now it's 2nd and 10. Allen with a little short dump off for 3 yards to James Cook. Now it's 3rd and 7 because he only got 3 yards. And then Josh Allen, you finally force an incompletion to Elijah Moore on a critical down, but you take a 15-yard penalty, a roughing the kicker by Zach Sieler. Like, what are we doing here? And this is on the drive where Jack Jones, he had a redeeming play. He had a pass breakup on slant and forced that 4th and down and punt, and it goes unnoticed. Then we get the ball back, man, and we're driving. Right? We start out on our own 37. We get down to their 21, and Tua makes a bad play. Tua sold where the ball was going with his eyes the whole way, right towards Waddle. Easy read for the defender. Back-breaking pick by Tua Tagovailoa. More self-inflicted wounds. Plus, Brunskill also whiffed on his block for instant pressures in Tua face. And I'm not even excusing Tua's pick, but why is McDaniel not running the ball there? Right? You got the first down conversion with Malik Washington on the 2nd and 6. Why not go back to the run? Ollie Gordon got you 4 yards before that. Your first down, that fresh set of downs you just got was off 2 run plays. And you had a good balance on that drive, right? You went run, incompletion, 11-yard gain, run, pass, run, and then interception. And then the defense, just to throw some extra salt in our wound as fans, 2nd and 16 after an offensive hold. You got to get the ball back for your offense, right? There's 2:49 left. 2nd and 16 for Buffalo's own 35. And again, you get cooked underneath by good protection and patience. A 9-yard dump off from Josh Allen turns into 30 yards, brings the Bills into field goal position, and game over basically. And this is where we are now. Just not good enough from Tua 2 weeks in a row in winnable games in critical moments. And I even said while we were live, I wanted to say out loud, please don't throw a pick here, Tua. But I didn't want to jinx it. And now we're 0-3. And now, if we didn't feel like dead men walking into Buffalo, what do you feel like now? Now what do you feel like? And again, you have Tua kind of like last week, right? What happened last week? After the interception that got called back, he settled in, he locked in, he played pretty solid. This week, were there some throws he missed? Yes. But he played pretty solid for the most part. And that'll all be forgotten because on a critical drive, in a critical moment, you broke this team's back again. And when you are bad, it's at the worst possible time. And it always lets us down. And you're getting paid more than $200 million to be a guy. And what have we said? Do I expect you to win in every big critical moment? No. But you got to be, I've said this, you got to be hitting the 50 to 60% clip. You just had a chance to go 50% over the last 2 weeks. You didn't. That's the problem. You want quarterbacks to win 50 to 60% of the time, right? 60-ish% of the time, right? And he had a chance to go 50% and he couldn't do it. Tua had a chance to go 50% over the last 2 weeks and blew it both times. Not good enough, man. It's just not good enough. And right now, Tua is attributing to this team not winning in big moments right now. Tua is part of the problem right now. Now, here's the next question on the docket. Has McDaniel saved his job? I don't think McDaniel did anything to lose his job tonight. Were there certain things where I was like, why are you doing this or why are you doing that? 110%. But he didn't put this team in a position. He put this team in a position to win tonight. The quarterback let us down. And Zach Sieler let us down. And the defense in the first half was letting us down a little bit. But Mike McDaniel, he's not going to get... I'm not expecting to wake up tomorrow to him fired. Sorry. Tua Tagovailoa was the problem in the big moments tonight. Not McDaniel. That's just a fact. And I'm ready to sit here and say, become cellar dwellers for sellers, steer towards Mateer, or get on the Nuss bus. Because I wonder, what would Nussmeier, John Mateer, or Lenore Sellers do in these big moments? I know John Mateer will show up. John Mateer got that Baker in him. John Mateer will show up. I know my boy who I wanted last year, Jackson Dart. I know he'd show up in that moment because he got that swag to him. I just can't defend this, man. Tua let us down tonight. Tua let us down on the second last drive last week against the Patriots when we could have got points. And it's not like we're in December. We're in September right now. I thought Jonas Savai-Naya had a good game, for whatever that's worth. But bro, I'm ready to see what's, like I said at the end of the game, like what would Ewers do in that moment? I'm ready to see what other guys would do in that moment. I don't know about Shedeur Sanders. He probably would have dropped back, 12, 14 yards with depth and took a sack. But I'm at the point where I'm ready to start seeing what other guys will do in these critical moments. Since we peaked in 2023, he let us down with injuries last year. His play not so much, especially that 6-game stretch when he came back from a concussion. He was lights out. No pun intended. But you let us down with injuries last year, and this year now, you're strictly letting us down with your play. You're staying healthy, but your play is letting us down. And quite frankly, as I said earlier, he looks timid. So I don't blame McDaniel for this loss. I think McDaniel has lived to see another day. If we would have got blown out, maybe you could have the conversation. But McDaniel, as much as we thought he should have ran here or there, as much as we think he should have dialed back the screens here and there in certain situations tonight, he put us in a position to win at the end there. Tua Tagovailoa cost us the game. After Zach Sieler choked away the lead. Zach Sieler choked away the lead. Zach Sieler kicked us in the coffin. Tua Tagovailoa put the nails in. That's how it went tonight. That's the best way I can describe it. And a good winning percentage for a quarterback is 60 to 65%. Above 65% is like elite, but 60 to 65% is really good. You gotta convert that winning percentage into big moments. You had a chance to go 50% in big moments over the last 2 weeks, and you dropped a goose egg, Tua. And it wasn't McDaniel's fault this week. Was it McDaniel? Did McDaniel contribute to you not being successful last week? 110%. But this week it was all on you. And you don't have McDaniel to blame. And McDaniel can actually turn to Ross and say, hey, brother, it wasn't me this time. And he's not lying. And why I think there's going to be legitimate security, too, is, I mean, look at what Cam Wolf said. Look at what Ian Rappaport said pregame. Look at what Ian Rappaport said pregame. Listen to this.
Network insider Ian Rappaport. Ian, we're just 2 games into this season, but head coach Mike McDaniel is already facing mounting pressure. What are you hearing about his job security?
Oh, great. I'm the downer. All right. First, the important part. Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, does not want to fire Mike McDaniel. He doesn't. He wants this to work. He likes him. He believes in him. He has invested in him, including in a contract extension last year. Still has 2 years, about $19 million left after this year. And whenever he has had to, whenever possible, he has been patient. My sense is nothing is imminent for the Dolphins on that front. However, there's a caveat. That can change. If fans suddenly stop showing up to the stadium or if players stop playing for him, that can alter the situation.
Ian, you're never a downer. We'll check back in with you in just a little bit.
He's been part of the problem. Anyways, I mean, look at right there. The patience. 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 Right? Patience. Ross, I mean, we're hearing these reports. Cam Wolf said the same thing. Cam Wolf said, you know, that was the same thing he was hearing. Nothing but patience. So McDaniel's not going anywhere. And McDaniel, it wasn't his fault tonight. It was Tua's fault tonight. Right? I mean, that's it. It was just not good enough, man. And Mike McDaniel, right? He even said tonight Tua needed to go to the flat. Unbelievable. You can't have critical errors in big moments, and that's what we're getting. From the guy you're paying $212 million. Big turnovers and critical moments are unacceptable. 2, roughing the punter penalties that extend drives and lead to points for opposing offenses in 3 weeks. Unacceptable. It's just not good enough from everywhere, man. And Tua Tagovailoa does themselves no favors. I mean, the team fought. The team fought. And that's another reason why Mike McDaniel is going to be safe, because the team fought. It was evident that this team was fighting, and he's safe. And you can't blame the offensive line tonight. You can't blame the coaching tonight. You just can't blame the coaching. Can't blame the offensive line tonight. It's just what it is. And now this team is 0-3, and it feels like, what do you do now? Am I happy it wasn't a blowout? Yeah. But McDaniel's safe. Dolphins fought hard tonight. That's just what it is. Come to the conclusion. McDaniel's safe right now. That's just where we're at. Weaver had a rough start. That defense was rough at the beginning. Kind of, you could say, was tonight the worst case scenario? Dolphins showed some fight, but they lost a close one. So this makes sure nobody's fired by mid-season, and we're just riding this out no matter what. You know? And the sad part is that you don't even get mad anymore. You just expect it. You just expect it now. We needed a dog in that moment, and we got a puppy from Tua. I don't know. We just need better, man, in big moments, and we're not getting it right now. That's all there is to it. We need better in big moments, and we're not getting it right now. And we can confirm that Keon Smith was benched by McDaniel. We're waiting on information on Jason Marshalls Jr. And what sucks about that running in the punters, we didn't even need the block, man. You just rush them. You can make the case that the worst case scenario happened for the Dolphins tonight. They lost a close one, which will keep people's jobs, but we still saw lingering issues pop up, that being Tua not being good enough in big moments. Tua playing timid. Guys, smash that like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. Shout out to the sponsor of the video. That, of course, is Sleeper. All right, the NFL season is here, which means you now have a chance to 2,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Football has never been more exciting than it is now for everyone but Dolphin fans. Pick on stats for stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 time payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Use promo code Phinside, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Terms and conditions do apply. Currently operational in over 25 states. You better go ahead and check out Sleeper today. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. Well, over 500 of you in the room. We are past midnight, and we feel like we're a team stuck in mud. There's going to be no major changes tomorrow. I don't expect to wake up to Tua being benched. I don't expect to wake up to anyone being fired. To make it worse, only one team has gone from 0-3 to the NFL playoffs since 2015. 41 teams have started off 0-3, 0-3, and only one has made the playoffs. And what sucks here is what's the goal now? To finish 9-8? Again, missing the playoffs, and on top of that, going out and winning just enough games so you don't get a great draft pick, a top 10 pick. And then is Ross going to have any ideas about running it back? It's not good enough. Brutal loss. And questions will continue to mount because McDaniel may have saved his job for another week, but Tua did himself no favors. Fins up. I'll see y'all on the next one. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. This sucks, man. Love y'all. Get some sleep.